Welcome back to the Hoop of Basketball channel, everyone. And Sydney Colson signed with the Indiana Fever. It wasn't just another veteran joining a young team. It was a moment that surprised many across the WNBA. Known for her leadership, energy, and humor, Sydney Colson's move to Indiana added a layer of experience to one of the league's most talked about rosters. For a team built around rising stars like Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston, the addition of a seasoned voice brought both excitement and skepticism. Sydney Colson had spent years carving out a career that was never about the spotlight, but about substance defense, mentorship, and culture. She was the player who understood the grind of staying ready, even when the minutes were few. But when news broke of her signing, social media lit up with mixed reactions. Some fans welcomed her veteran presence. Others questioned why the Fever made the move. For Sydney, the noise was nothing new. She's been in the league long enough to know how quickly narratives form and how little they often reflect the real story. In her first comments after joining the Fever, she didn't shy away from the criticism. She acknowledged the negativity but turned it into something deeper: motivation. You can't let other people define your value, she implied in her interview, her tone calm but resolute. For her, this wasn't just another season. It was a chance to lead a locker room full of potential, to remind the younger players what it means to stay the course when the world starts talking. The Fever, coming off a challenging stretch, needed more than just scoring. They needed balance. They needed voice. And in that sense, Sydney Colson was the missing piece most people didn't see coming. She wasn't there to be a star, she was there to be a stabilizer.
Subscribe to Hoop of Basketball channel.
As training camp began, Sydney Colson's presence was immediate. Her approach wasn't loud, it was felt. In a roster filled with headlines and expectations, she represented something quieter, but just as crucial: accountability. "This is a new opportunity for me," she said. "A chance to help these young players understand what it takes." Her story with Indiana wasn't going to be about stats or highlight reels. It was about building something lasting. But even before she took the floor, the online chatter grew louder, questioning her fit, her role, even her place in the league. And that's where the Real story begins, not in the applause, but in the resistance. Because for Sydney Colson, proving people wrong isn't new. It's who she's always been.
New coming into this season is, but once people started talking, once I was here and experiencing it, like, people had a lot to say. There was a lot of negativity coming my way, and I just looked at it like, you know, I'm not used to this. Typically, I'm the person that people are just like, "Oh, we love Sid, that's funny, blah blah blah." Some people be like, "Not funny," and I'm like, they don't have a sense of humor. But like, for the most part, for the most part, people have liked me and have admired me from the outside. But that's never made me do the things I do. Like, I do the things that I do because I enjoy my teammates, because I like comedy, because I like whatever I'm doing, not for other people's approval. So once I got here and was experiencing people's disapproval, it didn't really faze me, because I still understood. I think I understood even more so that this is definitely a part of my plan. When people get to not liking you for no reason, I'm probably exactly where I need to be. So once the injury happened, I'm like, once again, this is something that I don't fully get, but this must be where I need to be, sidelined. And it made me an even more vocal leader. It made me pay attention to things maybe that I wasn't paying attention to, that other people had going on, so I could be more tapped into if they're having a hard time and I need to come over here and help them out, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. I had to get outside of me. And that was the lesson that I learned in this. I hope it's the one that God wanted me to learn, you know, but yeah, it was just one of those things that nobody wants that to happen, but you still have to move forward and figure out a way to still be, of service to your team.
The moment Sydney Colson walked into the Indiana Fever facility, there was an unspoken shift. This was a locker room buzzing with new energy. The Caitlin Clark era had begun. Expectations were soaring, and every practice carried a sense of spotlight. Yet beneath all that hype, there was still the everyday grind, the subtle work of building chemistry. Sydney Colson, with her years in the league, understood that part better than most. She didn't need to be the loudest voice. Her leadership wasn't about commanding attention, it was about earning respect. During early team sessions, players described her presence as steadying. She was often seen pulling rookies aside, breaking down plays, or lightening tense moments with humor, something she's known for around the league. For a team learning to handle pressure and attention, Sydney Colson's balance of seriousness and ease became a quiet anchor. But outside the Fever facility, the conversation was different. Social media threads questioned her signing. Some fans accused the team of wasting a roster spot, calling her too old, unnecessary, or just for morale. The negativity was loud and, at times, personal. It was the kind of commentary that can easily reach a player's phone, the kind that lingers. When Sydney Colson later addressed that wave of criticism, she did it with characteristic honesty. "People will always talk," she said, "but you can't let what they say shape what you bring to a team." Her words weren't defensive, they were matter of fact. That mindset reflected not just her resilience, but her understanding of how fleeting public perception can be in professional sports. Inside the Indiana Fever locker room, her teammates saw the difference immediately. While outsiders debated her worth, those within the walls saw the work. Aliyah Boston mentioned in an interview how Sydney Colson's voice carried during practice huddles, not because of volume, but because of conviction. "She's someone you listen to," Aliyah Boston said. "She's been through it all, wins, losses, criticism, and she's still here." For Sydney Colson, mentorship wasn't about giving speeches. It was about showing up consistently. Whether she was running drills or sharing advice with rookies, she carried herself like someone who had seen every version of this league and still believed in its future. In many ways, that's why the negativity never broke her rhythm. She'd been through tougher moments, seasons where her contract status was uncertain, times when she was labeled as expendable. But this chapter, in Indiana, was different. It wasn't just about proving she could still play. It was about showing why experience still matters in a league obsessed with potential. While the outside noise continued to echo, inside, something real was forming, a team learning what leadership looks like when it doesn't need to shout to be heard. When Sydney Colson opened up about the backlash she received after joining the Indiana Fever, she didn't hide behind cliches. She faced it head-on. In her own words, she spoke about the wave of negativity that came from fans who didn't understand her place on the roster. "I saw the comments," she said. "I know what people were saying, but I'm not here to convince anyone online. I'm here to do my job." That statement summed up everything about Sydney Colson's mindset. She's not the kind of player who needs outside validation. For years, she's built her career by focusing on what she can control: effort, professionalism, and presence. Still, the criticism stung. Some fans questioned whether she deserved a spot, suggesting she was only there for personality, not performance. Others accused the Fever of making a PR move rather than a basketball decision. It's the type of commentary that can eat away at a player's confidence. But Sydney Colson's response was different. Instead of firing back, she used it as motivation. "You can't please everyone," she said, "but what you can do is keep showing up." That simple philosophy is what has kept her relevant in a league where talent alone isn't enough to survive. The truth is, Sydney Colson's presence on the Fever was about something much deeper than the box score. She understood what a young team needed: stability, energy, perspective. And those are things you can't measure in stats. For every negative comment she saw, she countered it with action. She mentored, she practiced hard, and she made sure her teammates knew she had their back. Over time, that effort started to shift the narrative. What began as a cloud of criticism slowly turned into respect. Her teammates saw the leadership that the outside world often overlooks. They saw someone who laughed through the hard practices, someone who turned tension into teamwork. In interviews, Sydney Colson reflected on the emotional side of it all: the mental strength required to face constant scrutiny. "I think sometimes people forget we're human," she said. "We read it, we see it, but we still have to show up and do the work." That level of transparency resonated not just with fans, but with other players who faced similar backlash. By being open about the negativity, Sydney Colson did more than defend herself, she showed others how to handle it. Her story became a quiet lesson in resilience. For every doubt that surfaced, she answered with grace, humor, and consistency. And that's the thing about Sydney Colson: she doesn't run from criticism. She absorbs it, learns from it, and then uses it to fuel the next step forward. For her, every doubt becomes another reason to keep going. Just when things seemed to be coming together for Sydney Colson and the Indiana Fever, a moment of unexpected news hit an injury that would change the rhythm of her season. Sydney Colson revealed she had undergone surgery for a torn ACL, an announcement that caught many by surprise. The news came through a video she posted, where she explained the situation in her usual candid style: open, calm, and tinged with humor, even in pain. "Yeah, I tore my ACL," she said, matter-of-factly, as if it were just another obstacle to handle. But behind that tone was the reality of another uphill climb. For any athlete, an ACL injury is one of the toughest challenges to face. It doesn't just test the body, it tests patience, discipline, and mental strength. For Sydney Colson, it meant months of recovery and rehabilitation, a process she had seen others go through but was now facing herself. Still, her attitude never shifted. She stayed vocal about her gratitude for being part of the Fever family, even from the sidelines. "It's frustrating, yeah," she admitted, "but I'm going to do everything I can to come back stronger." Her absence on the court left a gap in veteran leadership, but her voice remained part of the team's identity. Players spoke about how she stayed connected during her rehab, checking in, offering advice, and reminding them to enjoy the grind. For Sydney Colson, leadership didn't end because she couldn't play, it just took a new form. The Fever, meanwhile, continued to evolve. With rookies stepping into bigger roles and stars like Caitlin Clark taking center stage, Sydney Colson became a quiet presence behind the scenes. She wasn't in the huddles on the floor, but her energy lingered. Coaches mentioned how her perspective helped the younger players manage the emotional highs and lows of a long season. The injury, in many ways, revealed who Sydney Colson really is, not just an athlete, but a mentor built for adversity. She documented pieces of her recovery journey, turning vulnerability into connection. Fans who had once criticized her started to see another side, a professional who faced setbacks without bitterness. Her resilience became the story. ACL tears often raise questions about a player's future, but for Sydney, the focus was never on what she might lose. It was about what she could teach: perseverance, mindset, and faith in the process. And even from the sidelines, she found a new kind of impact. Because for Sydney Colson, leadership was never about minutes played. It was about showing others how to keep moving forward, even when you're standing still. As the months passed, Sydney Colson's recovery became more than a personal battle. It turned into a reflection of everything she stood for in her career. The grind, the faith, the humor in hard moments, it all became part of the story she was still writing. Even while sidelined, Sydney Colson stayed visible. She continued posting updates, joking through therapy sessions, showing fans that recovery didn't have to mean silence. "I'm good," she said in one clip, smiling through the brace. "Still loud, still me." That attitude captured exactly who she is, someone who refuses to let circumstances define her spirit. In a league built on resilience, Sydney Colson has become a reminder that leadership isn't about numbers on a scoreboard. It's about how you handle the moments when no one's watching. Inside the Fever organization, her influence has remained constant. Coaches have spoken about her professionalism and emotional intelligence, qualities that are rare, yet invaluable. Even injured, Sydney Colson continued to mentor the younger players, helping them navigate the demands of a long WNBA season. When the cameras turned off and the headlines faded, she was still there, offering guidance, perspective, and humor when the team needed it most. For Caitlin Clark, Aliyah Boston, and others growing into the league's next generation, having someone like Sydney Colson around has been more than just motivational, it's been grounding. They've seen firsthand what longevity looks like when it's built on character, not clout. As for her own future, Sydney Colson hasn't ruled anything out. She's talked openly about wanting to return stronger, but she's also realistic about what comes next. "Whatever happens, I know I gave everything I had to this game," she said recently. That kind of honesty resonates deeply, especially in a sport where careers can turn in an instant. But even beyond basketball, Sydney Colson's influence stretches further. Through her media projects, her advocacy for women in sports, and her ability to connect laughter with leadership, she's built something few players achieve: authenticity. She doesn't chase headlines. She creates moments that stick. When people talk about the Fever's rebuild, her name might not always be at the center. But her fingerprints are everywhere, in the chemistry, the confidence, and the quiet belief that this team can be more than just a story about one star. For Sydney Colson, the journey with Indiana may have started with criticism and injury, but it's ending with something far more powerful: respect. She's turned adversity into legacy, negativity into narrative, and setbacks into lessons. Because sometimes, the real victories in sports aren't about wins or stats, they're about how you carry yourself when the game tests you the most. And that's the story of Sydney Colson. Let me know in the comments. And please like and subscribe to our Hoop of Basketball channel, and see you in the next video.